Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where last episode we got this docked up and we are ready to start heading back to Kerbin. We've already set up this burn here, and let's see what that burn actually is. And we actually missed our turn here because I didn't open this after reloading the game. Okay, yeah, this is fine. So let's just get this lined up here. We're going to need to get this turn changed. So let's freeze the physics real quick just to get that turned a little bit faster. And then we'll bring it back. Luckily, we do appear, I think, to have struts. No, actually. The struts are currently broken. So hopefully, we don't have any krakening. I say as a kraken starts. So it's doing this like every time I reload the game. That's insane. Let's bring this around to... Let's actually reload this quick. And I'm going to reload the exact save that we were just on. And I want to see if those struts are broken or not. So the struts break, and then it krakens, is the way that it works. Okay, so I'm going to reopen the map like that. Let's check to see, yep, the struts are definitely still broken. Well, not too much to be done. We just need to get around to the maneuver node here, and that is relatively fine. We can actually do that without too much challenge right now, although that may be a little more difficult later on. I do expect to see a kraken build up here pretty soon, because those struts are gone and these are clipped together. I think that's the reason why that happens. So as to why the struts get deleted, your guess is as good as mine, to be honest. KSP2 is just a very finished game. You can see the base points of the struts, here and here. Out of curiosity, can we click this and rejoin? Nope. Okay. Well, we'll just have to hope that we don't have too much krakening. Luckily, we can do most of our burns in warp. So that'll be fine. The other option, of course, is just ditch these outer tanks if we have too many issues with it, and we should be fine after that. So that is the other option, although we're not currently krakening, I'm noticing. We're in position for this burn, so let's go ahead and warp on forward. Let's get out of here. Okay, so we're 40 seconds away. I want to warp closer than this. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Lighting up the engines, and they are not actually active. Okay, amazing. So we're going to have to go around and activate every single one of these engines, because they never actually got activated when we had to replace this vehicle because of the strut issue. So that's fine. We can go around and activate all of them. So that is all 13 engines active, I believe. Let's double check that. It's kind of hard to see in here, but that does appear to be correct. Okay, so now I want to enter warp. There we go. So we're going to burn here with the physics frozen in warp for a little while. Excellent. So we are out of here. Goodbye, Eve. It has honestly not been that much of a pleasure. We've had so many issues. 30 seconds remaining in this burn. Now 20. Now 10. And dropping the burn in 3, 2, 1. And theoretically right now, looks like we have a little further to go. Okay. Burn is done. Now, the question is, are we going to get a kraken? Well, not currently. I'm going to get rid of that, and we are going to warp to out here. We can't do that while time is paused. Amazing. Okay, so we're going to warp up over here. There we go. Goodbye, Eve. At long, long last. There it goes. Excellent. So we're going to break out of the Eve sphere of influence now, and we're back down to 1x because we switched over into the sun sphere of influence. So that is fine. Now what we need to do is we need to set... Well, actually, I'm going to make a save here in case we Kraken out too badly. So I'll make a save after, like, every step here. And now we need to set Kerbin as our target. Can we do that while the game is paused? The game is actually not paused right now. Okay. I want to set target Kerbin. There we go. So now we're going to need to check our inclination. I don't expect there to be too much of an inclination issue. 2.6 degrees. I think that's probably acceptable. If we were to burn at the periapsis here, let's take a quick peek at what that would end up looking like in terms of timing. Yeah, I didn't think that that would be perfect. So instead, we're going to come around to the apoapsis here, and we're just going to look to roughly circularize that, which would be about... here or so. Now, I don't expect that we Kraken at this moment, to be clear, because we're not attempting to turn these. So I think we should probably go around and deactivate, in order to try to prevent as much Krakening as possible, deactivate the torque in all of these side stacks here. So that way we're not generating any torque from the externals here. So I believe that should be all of them. Okay, now we're going to align to that maneuver node, but this is going to be exceptionally slow turning because we just turned off the vast majority of our torque. I wish that wasn't going to be the case, but I mean, this isn't that terrible. We've definitely had slower turns than this. But now I'm expecting that we don't end up Krakening this, at least unless we try to burn with it. So that is definitely a potential concern at that point. Okay, so we do have a fair amount of hydrogen fuel here, and we're going to need to make a fair number of maneuvers. We could almost certainly get back on just these internal tanks, to be clear. I don't think we actually need the external tanks, but I'd like to keep them around if we can. If we didn't have that strut getting deleted issue, then we would have no reason to get rid of them. So I would prefer to keep them around if at all possible for now. And yeah, you can see that this is definitely turning slowly, but it's not terrible in terms of the turn rate. And it will improve as we burn out the Delta V here and get rid of these side tanks once they get fully burnt out. I'm not sure how much DV is actually in these stages. This is claiming 16,000. That may or may not be real. KSP2 has a real hard time determining what your actual amount of Delta V is going to be. So I don't know what the actual amount is, but this burn is definitely not going to burn out those side tanks. I can tell you that. So that's all looking good. No issue whatsoever right now. We're not Krakening as we turn, and the turn rate is not the literal worst. We're not going to have actually significant issues with this turn rate. It's kind of slow, but it's good enough. At least we're not Krakening. The reason that that Kraken happens is because the struts are broken, and we have a reaction wheel in each of these stacks, so it's trying to turn while only being connected via the weak joint here. And so that causes this to start moving more than the center, because this weighs a lot less than the center plus everything else here. So this starts moving more. That creates an oscillation. This attempts to counteract the oscillation. And then the oscillation just gets worse because everything starts going different directions. And that's where we get that Kraken from. Now you can see here we overshot this. This is, of course, because the SAS in this game is terrible. So we're going to reset the physics and just bring it right on back. This time, we should get a little closer, and in fact, we should just pass straight through it, and I'll be paying close enough attention to just warp us. So in that case, I definitely want to be going down this way. So I want to be going down. I'm allowing the SAS to handle the over for right now. Okay, now I'm counteracting that over, because I don't feel like we need quite as much as what it's giving us here. But yeah, the SAS in this game is absolutely abysmal. It is very, very bad at getting you to where you want to go. Once you're there, it's okay at keeping it stable-ish. It likes to build up oscillations for sure, but it keeps you pointing approximately where you want to go, and that's okay. But for these big turns, it overshoots it very, very regularly and is not very good at it. So let's just bring this on in, and we're going to brake with the warp here. Okay, let's go ahead and warp. That'll reset our physics, and we're very close to this turn point, so that'll be fine. So we're just circularizing here. We need to warp a little further than this, that's for sure. Okay, so this is only warping at 1000x, so that'll take it a little bit to get to where we want it to be. 40 seconds? Sounds good. So we're 30 seconds away, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Now, the question is, are we going to crack in here? Well, not if I have anything to say about it. We're going to go into physics warp here, or rather, we're going to go into time warp. And now we're going to exit it. 3, 2, 1, and mark. Okay, we're going to call that good. So that should get us relatively circularized at this time. Okay, so now what we're looking to do, we could actually do a burn here and do an inclination change. We have so much delta V that there's really no reason not to. So let's go ahead and other direction. Let's go ahead and do this. So that'll bring us to 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, and 0. So that's 466 meters per second. Sounds good. This turn is definitely going to be a little on the slow side. We know that we're going to need to go up here. Okay, I'm manually performing this turn so that the SAS doesn't overshoot it. So we're keeping an eye on that. I suspect we're overshooting on the yaw at this point. I can see that it is automatically attempting to yaw over. I'm controlling the pitch right now, but I'm not currently controlling the yaw. Looks like we're trying to build up some yaw speed here, and that's fine. I don't feel like we need more yaw speed than this. We look like we're on a good trajectory here. So I'm going to counteract the yaw just a little bit here. So these flickers down here is me counteracting that yaw. It really wants to continue to yaw over here, but I don't want it to continue to yaw. I think we're on a good trajectory here. So I'm just attempting to hold that back a little bit. It's really wanting to yaw over, and that's not necessary at this time. Okay, now it's trying to hold even. I'm fine with this. In fact, now it's trying to counteract its own yaw. So that looks good. We'll let it do that, because that does need to happen. I'm still controlling the pitch here, though. Keep over there. It tried to let up on that, but we need more yaw. Well, as I said, it was overshooting. Okay. So we are very close here. I'm going to call that close enough. We're going to warp forward a few minutes here. And that's going to drop us 40 seconds away. I'm going to let this yaw over here. I'm going to let the SAS handle it from here. This close, it should be okay. In theory. Emphasis on in theory. Okay, so we're pretty much in position for this burn as of now. That looks good. Let's warp forward. We're 20 seconds away, 10 seconds away, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, so this is only a 40-second burn, but let's go ahead and warp through it. 40 remaining, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, and that looks good. What doesn't look good is that Kraken. Let's stop that Kraken. That definitely needs to not be happening, so we're going to enter warp here and exit warp. and that will reset the Kraken. Okay, that happened, of course, because of the engine gimbal, which, to be honest, we should probably disable the engine gimbal on these external engines because we don't have the struts. The gimbal would be a great thing to have if we were strutted, which we should be, but we're not. So let's disable that, and that should solve the burn Kraken. We'll be okay with having just these gimbal. It'll be fine. Okay, so there we go. Now we need to get ourselves a rendezvous. So let's look at what we've got. If we were to burn hypothetically about here, this is not going to be good timing, but I want to see just how bad it's going to be. Little further than that. Yeah, you can see here, this is about as bad as it can get. So we definitely don't want to burn there. If we were to burn out over this direction, it's still not a good transfer window. We should just give it an orbit, to be honest. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to warp around here. Our Kerbals are just chilling for a year. I'm sure they're fine with this. I don't know why they'd have a problem with it. It's absolutely a-okay. So now that we are in this position, you can see that our relative position with Kerbin has changed a little over 90 degrees. So that looks good. I want to burn out this direction and see what that's looking like. Yeah, that's still not great, but it's definitely better. We're 90 degrees off instead of 180 degrees off. I really wish I could get this tooltip to go away. It is right where we need to be. Okay. So let's drag this guy around over this way or so. And let's see what that's looking like. It's better. It's not great. But out over here is starting to get significantly better. So we need to give it one more warp. So we're going to warp around another year. Again, the Kerbals are happy with this. They brought plenty of snacks. I'm sure. How long has this mission been going on for? Well, this is only since we combined these together. The actual mission has been a very lengthy one indeed. No doubt about that. So if we're to create a maneuver, it'll be somewhere around here. Maybe a little further than this. But this will be the encounter somewhere around here. Yeah, a little further. Around here. Cool. So that's an encounter. What encounter is this? That's actually pretty curved. That is not bad. We have so much TV, I'm going to call it fine. So we're going to align to that, which, again, it'll take a little bit of time to get that turn started. And I'm not sure which direction we're going to be aligning to. Let's see here. This is anti-target up this way. So we're going to be coming, I think, this direction. It's trying to bring us, like, out this way. I'm not sure exactly where the target node is, so I'm going to let the SAS turn us until we see the target node, at which point I'll start manually piloting it. I still don't see the maneuver node yet. It's got to be around there somewhere. It's gotta be. We've spun up to a reasonable turn rate at this point. It's mostly... Oh, there it is. Okay. It's mostly just the acceleration. So, okay. So we need to yaw over a fair amount here, and we need to kill that vertical speed. We've got a little too much vertical rotation here, so I'm working on bringing that down. And we want to just be yawing. This is a weird direction, but okay. Let's see what the SAS wants to do. It wants to continue to get that yaw dealt with, or rather the pitch dealt with. So that is understandable. We're going to overshoot on the pitch, I think. But I started the pitch correction before the SAS wanted to. So it looks like we're actually pretty on target here. Yeah, it definitely needs to come up a little bit. It's overshooting slightly on the pitch, but it's not too bad. We're in a pretty good angle here. Let's warp. Cool. So that's going to reset our physics. We'll get that lined up. We're still like 4 hours away. Let's warp a little closer than that. There we go. That's like 3 minutes away. And let's go a little closer than this. 2 minutes. 1 minute, 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, because of our lack of gimbal in those outer engines, we should not Kraken even while burning at this point. Or, well, we are going to Kraken a little bit, it looks like. This is due to probably thrust differentials building up, is my guess. But that's fine. We can just deal with it this way. At the very least, we should Kraken less, in theory. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and mark. We're going to call that good. How is that doing for our maneuver? I want to be locked to prograde for right now. And this definitely looks like an encounter. Okay. Yeah, that looks decent. If we burn prograde, which direction is this going? It's going towards, it's kind of flattening out. Okay, I think we're good where we're at. So we're going to warp to that encounter. So we need to warp up here-ish. We're in a reasonable orientation here. So now what I want to do is I want to warp, we are going to be going, well, I want to warp specifically to about here. And I want to be bringing us over to retrograde. Okay, so now at the periapsis, I want to create a maneuver plan, and we're going to do a retrograde burn. That is not as much DV as I was expecting it to take. Okay, let's pull this back out. I don't like that lunar encounter there. Oh, that's a really, really gross lunar encounter. Okay, let's just circularize this for now if we can. That's as good as we're going to get. I just don't like that lunar encounter currently. Okay. So the moon is just right where we need to be, and that is mildly unfortunate. I wonder what happens if we try to dive really deep, though. Man, the moon is just right where we need to be, unless we wanted to come in retrograde, which I don't want to do. The moon is just right there for basically all of it. Hang on. I mean, that's a lunar encounter for sure, but it's actually not a bad one. That's actually viable. Okay. So, I mean, that's still going to be a pretty high periapsis, but that seems fine. So we're currently working on turning over to that burn point, and we'll get there soon enough. Eventually. But yeah, this is a very curved trajectory here, so our actual braking burn isn't all that significant. I expected it to be a little bit higher than this, but yeah, you can see just how parabolic we are. I like it. That's not bad. And then the moon encounter here is very minimal. It's going to have a very, very small impact on our resulting orbit, so I'm okay with that. We don't really need to do anything fancy with the moon, so it's fine. As far as our actual deorbit goes, I mean, it's relatively fine. I'm wondering about the state of these parachutes. Have they been repacked? They have not. So that should definitely be done. So we're going to need to repack every single one of these chutes. Okay, there we go. That should be reasonably good. There's these LRWs here, but they aren't actually relevant. Okay. So it'll be something kind of like that. So those chutes are now repacked. I want to put in a new stage up here, and I want to move, these are these the drogues or the mains? These are the drogues. So that's fine. We're going to put the drogues there, and we're going to put the mains here. This overshot again. Of course it did. Okay. The SAS is very bad at its job. Cool. So I'm freezing the physics, and we're just going to bring this back. Can't leave it alone for any amount of time, or else it just does crazy things. Sure. At least we're not krakening right now. At least turning this off stopped the kraken when not burning. we can Kraken while burning. That's not actually a problem because we can just go into time warp. So that seems okay. As long as we're not Krakening while burning, we're good. So this is going to be 646 meters per second. Let's just bring this guy right on over. You can see Kerbin down there. We're so close now. Let's just get into position for that burn. Almost there. Very, very close. Close enough. Let's go. So we're warping in, and Kerbin is getting a lot closer there, and you can see just how close we are to Moon. Very is the answer. I want to warp in a little closer here. Moon's orbit is unfortunately timed for us here. We've got about 40 seconds right now until this burn, so let's just go ahead and warp forward a little closer. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Commencing burn, allowing us to gimbal to position, and warping. Okay, now we're going to watch our burn in here. We've got about 30 seconds left. We're in orbit of Kerbin now. This is claiming we're going to need to stop our burn, but that's actually definitely not true. Wow, that was going to give us 2 moon encounters and we were going to essentially bounce. Wild. So this is very fake. No doubt about that, that's exceptionally fake. So let's just drop this orbit down. These are some crazy lunar encounters here. Okay. So the actual orbit that we are targeting here is going to look something like this. So this is about 91 kilometer periapsis, which is much better than I was expecting. Yeah, this is absolutely fine. So at the periapsis here, I want to do another retrograde burn, and we're just going to drop this right on down. We have so much DV, we don't need to try to do anything fancy. But I do want to change our timing to be out over here or so. 145 kilometer periapsis, huh? Oh, this periapsis jumped up to 271. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's bring this down to about 90. Nah, that'll do. So that's absolutely fine. We need to align for that burn. It'll be 901 meters per second. Okay. So, where is this maneuver node going to be? Well, to be honest, I'm thinking about just ditching all of this side stuff. We don't need the fuel, for sure. We've got plenty of fuel at this point. And this just creates problems and causes us a bunch of turn time. So I'm going to get rid of it here. I don't think it took the input. There we go. So I'm going to get rid of all of that, and that will allow us to turn much faster, but more importantly, we should be in a much better position here. Now, I don't know if these are strutted or not, but it didn't seem to matter previously. So that seems fine for now. Why is this showing us at partial fuel? It shouldn't be. Let's go into our resource manager here. Yeah, we're at full fuel. Okay, that's what I expected. So we are definitely losing a lot of fuel here. This is claiming 6 kilometers per second, which is, I think, about right. So that looks good. And I see. We need to bring ourselves up over this direction. So we're almost in position for this burn. And we're able to turn much faster with just this. And in theory, it should be less Kraken-y. Not necessarily not Kraken-y, but less Kraken-y. Okay, so there we went through that moon encounter, and we're coming into our Kerbin encounter now. So we're about 3 minutes away from this, allowing our... Whoa, I don't know what that was. Allowing ourselves to orient a little bit, and then we're going to warp a little closer. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Okay, I'm coming out of this warp, and I'm quick saving, just in case anything breaks. Cool, it's been a bit. So 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. So this is going to be about a 3-minute burn, and we will just go ahead and warp through that. This is maybe not going to be a 3-minute burn. What is going on here? This is way, way different of a burn than what we were expecting. I guess we're coming in? This was not what was predicted at all. Okay. Well, the maneuver is clearly completely broken. Our orbital velocity is really low. Let's bring this around to prograde and raise our apoapsis up a little bit. So specifically, I want to raise it to like 40 kilometers. That should be fine. So we're just bringing this around to prograde, and I'm going to begin raising this up a little bit. Raising that periapsis. So we're just at prograde right now, and we just want to bring that back up. Because this is way further than we expected it to be. Okay. So this is about 30 kilometers. Good enough. We'll call that good. So next what I want to do is, as we're coming in here, I want to do a radial retrograde burn. And we'll see how accurate that one is. But we want to retrograde this and then also toss in a little bit of radial here to keep that periapsis up just that little bit higher. This should be reasonable. So let's align to that burn. And that will be our final trajectory, is the idea. So we're going to need to fall into this, and that is fine. We should probably consider retracting our solar panels as of right now, because we don't know exactly what altitude we're going to be when we start this burn. This might actually be in the atmosphere, and that's fine-ish if it is, but we'll see. Okay, let's warp on over. And we can see we're definitely getting up over orbital velocity here. We're going to need to slow this on down. We're in Atmo now, so I'm commencing the burn at this moment. Okay. So I want to take this over to retrograde for right now. Well, really, actually, we do want to be up at radial here. So we want to be burning radial out, specifically. Because I want to raise this periapsis a little bit while lowering our apoapsis. So I'm going to get rid of this burn. Where are we going on the yaw? Can we not? This is just a pitch. We just need to pitch. Okay, so I want to bring this around over this way. And I want to raise up that periapsis. Excellent. So I want to put that periapsis at somewhere around 30, 35 kilometers. That's fine. And now I'm going to call this good for our final entry here. And we are going to undock. And this, we don't care about. This, we want to position retrograde. Okay. There we go. This is going to burn up or crash or something. That's absolutely fine. We don't care about it. It can do that. Beautiful. So we're finally on our way in. I like it. So we can see our time to periapsis is increasing. That is absolutely expected. And we're just going to need to get these chutes done. So yeah, we see that the hydrogen tanks here most likely are heating up. That's fully expected. That'll burn up. And there it goes. Or at least part of it. I'm not sure which part, but a part of it burned up. And that's absolutely fine. Actually, I think that was the... Okay, I'm not sure what part of it burned up, but this was never intended to be in the atmosphere. So it's absolutely expected that that would be happening. Cool. We are, of course, on a crashing trajectory, and that is fully expected here. But let's just continue to bring this on down. This will be nice and safe with the heat shield. And this is a pretty high trajectory. This is a very safe re-entry trajectory. After all of this, I didn't want to risk a bad landing. Like, I'm playing it safe at this point. This mission has been so cursed that we just got to get it right. Cool, so we're down below 2 kilometers per second as of now. And actually, we're in surface mode. We are losing attitude a bit. Let's come out of warp and see if that fixes it. Yeah, that definitely fixed it. Okay, cool. So we're down below 1,500 meters per second. We're nearly at a point where losing attitude would be safe here. Actually, we are. We're at a point where it would be safe. We wouldn't have a problem with that. We're 24 kilometers up. This is Eve. This isn't Eve. This is Kerbin. We would absolutely be safe here. So that's all looking good. We need to get this down under, I believe this becomes safe at like 600 meters per second or like 500, something along those lines. And the deploy settings are default. Okay, that sounds pretty decent. And let's just go ahead and go back into time warp. Cool. Yeah, you can see we're definitely having some trouble with attitude. The attitude really doesn't matter at this point. I pressed the button to deploy the chutes. Nothing happened. There we go. Now the chutes, well, the drogue chutes anyway, are deployed. The mains would be safe as well. Let's go ahead and deploy those. And let's bring this right on down. Nice and safe. Fantastic. Well, that was an insane mission, although it was mostly insane because of the bugs. I'll be honest. Fighting through the bugs was quite an ordeal. That's for sure. We're going to be splashing down here nicely. 5.3 meters per second. Okay, that's going to go down reasonably quickly. So at 4x speed, we're dropping like 80 meters per second. No, that's not how that works. We're dropping 20 meters per second at 4x speed. So that means about every 5 seconds for 100 meters. So, yeah, that's not too bad. Cool. So we'll splash this down, and hopefully we get credit for this after all those shenanigans. Hopefully. But this did exist on the Ocean of Eve. I didn't replace this part after we took off from Eve. So I think that should count. And it did. Beautiful. We recover this 100%. Back to the KSC we go. I'm going to hop into the mission control right now. We completed this mission. Okay, that was a lot of bugs. But we will submit that. What an achievement. Yeah, they don't even know how much of an achievement it really was. Oh boy, okay. Mission completed. Thanks, science. That is the entire science mode completed for KSP2. Oh, if you got this far in the series, I applaud you. That was painful to make, and I have to assume it was also painful to view. So, if you got this far, a round of applause for you. Thank you so much for sticking with it. It was rough. But that is KSP2's science mode completed, and I think at this point, we can put KSP2 out to pasture where it belongs. It's just unfinished. That's all there is to it. It's just unfinished. And with that, there's not much else to say. That's just the state of KSP2, and it probably will be forever. We'll see if they ever restart development on it, but I would be shocked. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.